Hello and welcome back to Pattie's podcast. We're back with season 3 and we're really excited that you've joined us today for this first episode. We've had a really busy year recording new guests and it's been really exciting. And I've had a good summer. Pattie, how has your summer been?
I've had a wonderful summer. It's been glorious. It's been great for the garden for many reasons. Flowers flourished, everything seemed to be doing quite well. And I had lots of visitors, made lots of lunches, had a really great time. And then the summer went on and on and on until we ran out of water. But we were lucky enough to go away to see a friend in Morocco for a week. I loved that. That was great. And working on a book.
Yeah, so tell us about the book. It's finally here.
Finally, yes. It's basically a photographic book, photographs of me and by me. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's going to be good. It should come out mid-October.
So if you want to get your hands on the book, the best place to go to right now is pattieboyd.co.uk. There is a link through to where you can pre-order it. So go and do that. Comes out mid-October, all very exciting. But from one photographer to another, the guest of this podcast, Pattie, tell us who we have.
It's with my dear friend John Swannell, a fabulous photographer. And I would say the best raconteur. I've never heard so many amazing stories. You're going to die laughing. He's so funny.
Well, with all of that in mind, this is Cocktails with Pattie and John Swannell.
John, darling, so lovely to see you. I feel it's been an awful long time, I suppose because of COVID, etc.
Yeah.
Holding everyone back. But here we are, and before I begin chatting to you, I just want to say I'm really happy that you've chosen this as your favourite cocktail, because I love it too.
Do you? I didn't realise it.
Yeah.
It's funny, my daughter introduced me to it, and when we go to pubs occasionally, and I order it, she said, Dad, it's a girl's, your big girl's blouse, it's a woman's drink. And there's all these guys walking around with pints in their hand, and I'm walking around with this delicate little... And I said, who cares? I said, I want it.
Yes, you're a man, you can do what you want,
exactly.
Absolutely. But this is a good, I'm so happy that she wrote down the instructions for us, which is 2 large things of vodka, 1 of Cointreau or triple sec, lime juice, and a small cranberry. And so it's a very nice pinky coloured drink, absolutely delicious. And cheers.
Cheers.
I was trying to remember when we first met, and I can't remember. Have you any
God, you
recollection?
know what? Yes, I can. I can remember exactly when I met you. Isn't that weird? It just came back to me then. I was working with David Bailey, and he was doing a book called... I'll remember in a minute. It was one of the early books, and he was photographing everybody for the book.
Right.
It was, I think it was the end of the 60s.
Right.
Goodbye, Baby, and Amen.
Oh, I was going to say that.
That's it.
Yeah.
It was Goodbye, Baby, and Amen, and he was photographing everybody, and it was great because I was working with him, so I was meeting everybody. It was wonderful. Not, he was always photographing famous people, but he said we're going to photograph George Harrison and Pattie Boyd today. And I said, where? And they said, in their country house. So I thought, oh, God, this is going to be lovely. And I remember the picture. We went down there, and George was so relaxed, and you were lovely. And I think he did a picture of George, and then he did you together. And, he played around, did some nice... But that was the first time I met you. And but I knew you in my head for years and years and years. Because when the first time I ever saw you was in Hard Day's Night. On the train, and this 12-year-old girl was running through the, and of course she was much older then. But how old were you then?
I was 20.
Gosh,
I think.
Yeah, you looked about
20 or 19. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was such a fun film and everything. But
19. I was 19.
God.
Yeah.
And then you went off with George, I think, and when I started to work with Bailey, your name came up and George Harrison and everything, and Bailey said, she used to be with Eric Swain. And I saw Eric, he used to come round occasionally, good-looking fella, photographer, a wide boy, wasn't he, a bit?
Yes, he was.
And Bailey said, I told him. He said, Pattie's my girlfriend, and she's doing his work with a beetle. He said, you're going to lose her to a beetle.
Bailey knew that.
Yes,
That's amazing.
just like that.
But Eric thought I'd go off with Paul McCartney.
So he got it wrong.
Yeah, wrong.
Isn't that strange though? It's really weird, and then you did.
Yeah, how funny. How predictable. How irritating.
Because you used to work with him, obviously. Then
I worked with Bailey a lot.
Yeah,
yes.
a bit before my time. I didn't do because I don't remember working with you, shooting with you.
Yeah, I don't remember who he had as an assistant then, but I did do quite a lot of work with him.
Patrick Hunt, does that ring a bell?
No.
I think that's one of his big assistants.
John, I have to mention your fabulous book that's just come out, and I absolutely adore it.
Do you like it? Oh, good.
I absolutely adore it. It's so full of glamour, of beauty, of pre-Raphaelite era, which of course I love too, and humour. I think you're so funny. And I was thinking one photograph in particular, a close-up of a model with her eyes closed, and then you've got the makeup artist to paint an eye on her eyelid. Right. And it's so freaky.
It's scary, isn't it?
It's funny as well.
You know something's wrong, but you're not quite sure what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love the way that you position your subject, because I think I do that. I must have copied you in some way, because I like to do that. Have my subject not in the centre of the page, of the frame, but to one side. So you've got the rest of the page to fill with flowers or fields or
interesting
water
things,
or something else.
Yeah.
I love that. I've got one photograph I took of Eric, and he's playing at Madison Square Garden, and it's a sort of 3/4 of him playing guitar, and he's just 1/3 of the page, and the rest is just black. And somehow it's easier for the eye to sort of travel across the page to the image.
Yeah.
Yes, instead of him being straight in front of you.
Yeah, and it's unpredictable as well, which is quite nice.
I was thinking the other day about film versus digital. Do you ever use film now?
No, I haven't used film for 20 years. It started about, because the book's 40 years, called 40 Years On, because it's 40 years of my although I was working a little bit before that. But about 20 years ago, I used to do a lot of those brochures. It was a money-making thing. A lot of photographers did it. They travelled all over the world, with model, because the brochure would come out in spring, and they had to shoot in the winter. So we'd always go abroad.
We'd have to go
Miami,
abroad.
usually South Africa actually, because South Africa was the cheapest at the time. So we'd always fly out to these places and stuff. And every year I did 2 or 3 of those. And then one of my big clients phoned me, said, we're going to Cape Town for 3 weeks in about 10 days' time. I said, yeah, it's in the diary, you mentioned it before. He said, I want it all shot on digital this time. I said, okay, I'll tell you what, let's not do digital this time, because I haven't got the equipment. It's just come out, it's so new, and we'll do it the following the next shoot after this one. He said, no, we're going to do it digital this time.
Oh, gosh.
And I said, you're 100% sure about this? He said, yeah, I'm 100% sure. It's much better for us, it's cheaper for us, and that's the way we're going, that's the direction, and we want to be one of the first to get off the ground, and so it's digital. So, and they were brutal. They said, and I said, it's going to be a bit difficult. He said, John, if you don't want to do it, we'll get someone else. That's what they said to me. And I said, okay, fine. So my assistant did a crash course, real crash course, because I'm dyslexic, and all that digital stuff was a bit sort of heavy for me to get into. And he did the whole thing. We bought £20,000 worth of equipment, new equipment. 20 years ago, that was worth about...
What camera was this? Do you remember?
It was a Pentax. And I remember bringing my other camera with me. On every garment, I did 2 shots on my films.
Yes.
I just had it over my shoulder. So
yes.
we shot it on digital, and although you can see it on the screen, I still panicked about coming back and then seeing it, nothing's on the film or nothing's on the TV. So I shot everything, every garment. There was about 100 garments, and I shot just two pictures on my. So I had about sort of 20 rolls of film, with 2 of it on each garment, just in case. I was that nervous. And we came back, and in fact, everything was fine. It was really good, and it really worked out okay. But it's a worry, In fact, it's much easier. It's much easier now, because you shoot it, and you look at it on the camera wherever you are, in the Caribbean or somewhere. Look at it on the thing, and that's fine and great. And then you download it onto this, and you still got it on your chip, And so if anything happens to that, you got the chip, and if anything happens to the chip, you got it on the screen and everything. And in the old days, I'd bring back 80 or maybe 120 rolls of film, you know.
Yes.
And my assistant and I would split it, so she took half of everything, and I took the other half. So if we lost it, we've only, you know, we've covered ourselves. But and it couldn't go through the luggage thing. It had to go on the plane with us because of the X-rays.
Right, of course.
Because you know, Ringo Starr's quite famous that he came through with some tapes once of the Beatles, and it was wiped. It was wiped, and
That's
yeah,
right.
I remember reading that, and it was always every photographer had this nervousness about that happening. And I'll tell you a funny story. One of my assistants was a girl. She was a tough old thing. She's only about 5 foot tall, but she was tough as old boots. And we were in Zambia, I think, or no, Kenya, and we were at the airport in Nairobi, and it's an open air airport, I think, and she had her, you know, the film in her bag and everything. And she went and got looked, and I was with the hairdresser. We were sitting there having a drink, waiting for the plane and everything. And there was a big scuffle over in the corner, and I went and had to have a look at. And it was some guy, while she was getting logged onto the plane with her ticket, picked up a bag with all the film in it and ran off. This 6 foot guy, and she ran after him and made a rugby tackle in the middle of the airport. This 5 foot kid did a rugby tackle on him.
Fantastic.
Pulled him got onto the floor, and he was so shocked that this little girl had done this to him. He got up, so embarrassed, and everybody's looking and laughing at him, and he ran off. And she didn't tell me. She didn't tell me until I saw her walking back, and everybody was saying, "Well done, well done." And I said, "What's that about?" She said, "Well, I didn't want to say, but he took all the film, ran off with the film." And I said, "And you ran after?" He said, "Yeah, I took him down, you know, his rugby tackle." I said, "You mad? He might have had a knife, he might have had anything." She said, "The thought of me telling you that I'd lost your film was worse than that." I didn't want to lose my job.
Oh my God, how wonderful, how brave of her.
I'm not kidding, yeah. Stunning.
How brave of her. Wow, John. Yes, I used to have a darkroom actually in the garden, and I pulled it down probably 10, 15 years ago.
I mean, like you, I had my garage, and after dinner I would go down there and work from sort of 9, 10 o'clock at night till 3 in the morning sometimes, printing everything.
Wasn't it wonderful?
And it was great.
It was so exciting, and looking for the perfect
Yeah,
print.
and you'd
One more try.
and then you'd hang them up and stuff, and go down the next morning, and they'd dried in at stop too dark, and you'd have to do the whole thing again.
I know.
But
It was never the same the next day.
But mixing up the chemicals and keeping them, the temperatures right,
Yes.
and I had like you probably had music in there as well, and it was really a nice little den.
Yeah.
But it was setting everything up took a long time.
Took a long time, so I'd wait till I had quite a few rolls of film to process.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just do one. I'd have a few.
And then do the whole thing.
My mother used to get very worried that I would be working with all these chemicals.
Yes, because some of them are banned. Yes, some of them are banned. Irving Penn, do you remember that book, Moments Preserved?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the Bible of photography. And he, after that book, he got really depressed because he never did another book as good as that, because there was a chemical that he used for getting those blacks, that lovely black he used to get, that was banned. So he could never get that same black in any of the other books, and it really depressed him. So that was the Bible. That was a one-off thing. Would never be, it could never be repeated.
Really?
Yeah, it's a sad story, isn't it? But he was
Very sad.
really depressed about it. But he was he's a master and a perfectionist.
I was somewhere in Spain, I think, and I went to a film studio. Anyway, they were talking about this black that is the blacker than black. It's Japanese. And I ordered a bottle of it, only this size. It's very expensive. And I thought it'd be nice to paint something black, very black. And then I like photographing flowers. And then just put some flowers in front of it. It didn't occur to me that there could be a range of blacks.
I know, isn't it
previously.
strange? Yeah, strange.
It's extraordinary.
It is.
I suppose in a way it's like whites that are easier to distinguish. Some whites, you can see they're rather acidic.
Yeah.
Chemically white. And then there's old whites and a bit of yolk in a white, But black's the same.
Yeah, there's black and white. Black doesn't have any colour in it whatsoever. Black is just black, but there's different shades of black.
Yeah.
But white, all the colours of the rainbow are in the white. They are. They're all in that white thing. In that white thing. When you look at white, you look at that, all the colours are in there. So with special ways, you can actually bring out all the colours from that white.
Wow. How
I
extraordinary.
can't explain it, but
Yeah.
I've read it a couple of times.
Now, sometimes people ask me what's the difference between a photograph taken with film and a photograph taken digitally.
No grain.
I always thought that with photography, it was comprised of lots of dots.
Yeah, that's the.
Whereas with digital, it's triangles that fix together, making the image sharper than with the film.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, and the dots that you're talking about is the grain.
Yes.
You know, when it breaks up.
Yeah.
And the other one, it's fascinating you said that. I'd never thought about that. It probably is, yeah, when you blow it up really big, it does look diamondy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I never thought about that.
Because you see, the diamonds are so definitive and so sharp
Yeah.
that when you can blow it up, and it doesn't really lose
Yeah,
it, as
yeah.
they would lose it with the dots, who don't really sit next to each other very as well as diamonds do.
No, you're absolutely right. That's something I didn't know. That's really good, yeah.
You've travelled extensively and done so many unbelievable fashion shoots of every kind and shooting people, and I suppose you must have some rather amusing stories to go with these glamorous pictures. They all look so calm and serene and so beautiful. I bet there have been some sort of amazingly funny things that go on as
Yeah,
well.
a lot of funny things. A lot with Bailey, actually, which I can tell you in a minute. But I went to Peru for the second time, actually. I went with Bailey the first time years ago. And we went to Peru to Machu Picchu.
Yeah, it's in here.
Yeah. And
I love that it's all, the mountains in the back are all dark,
Stunning.
dark blue.
Yeah, stunning.
But
Have
did
you ever been
wait?
there?
Yes.
Yes,
Did you?
did.
It wasn't like that for me, John.
yeah, well, a little bit of trickery in the photography, yeah.
But were you waiting for the sun to
Yeah,
go
well,
behind?
well, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's when the sun comes up.
Oh, I see.
So because
right.
everybody goes there, they travel over the mountains, and all the backpackers, and they get there at 6 in the morning. And the hotel that's there, I think.
Yes, the Backpackers Hotel.
Yeah, but you probably had a good. Did you walk? Did you?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you had when you got to your destination, did they have hot showers for you and everything? And
Yes.
Yeah. So because
Funny little hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got there, and the team, we got to the gate from the hotel, just walked down the gate. You know, it's only about 200 yards.
Yes.
And we didn't have a permit to go in and do the photographs. No permit. And the guy that was our guide was useless, absolutely useless. And it was Hilary Alexander with the Daily Telegraph.
Yes.
And she said, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" She said, and they said, "How much is it?" And they said, "You have $6,000 if you want to shoot here."
Oh, golly.
And Hilary said, "It's out of the question. We've got to cancel the shoot." I said, "Come on." I said, "We've just come 5,000-6,000 miles. We can't walk away from this. Let's sit
And all
down."
the clothes and
everything
everything?
was there. And so we walked back and found this little bench, and we sat down. And I said, "Just give me a minute. I said, "Okay." And the bugger was, they're all evening dresses as well. You know, so what we did, I said, "Get the girl into the first evening dress and put a coat around her. And then I'm going to take her in with me with my camera over my shoulder, no tripods. And I'm just going to go in, and then all of you follow me one by one, though. But put all the dresses in a bag so it doesn't look obvious. It looks like you're tourists. Split them up between you." So we walked in. I got there, and I walked in, and there's about 6 guards all over the place, you know, wandering around, making sure nobody touches, you know, moves any stones or whatever. So I said to my assistant, "Just keep an eye on the guides and stuff, the blokes, security." And I found her. I got the place for her. I got the background, everything right. And I was there, and we looked around. I said, "Okay, throw your coat off." She threw her coat off. Hilary caught it, went behind a rock with it, and I started shooting. I did about sort of 30 pictures, and I said, "Okay, back on again." Back on again. Then she went off behind a rock and put another dress on. And we had 6 shots to do.
Yeah.
And I was on the 5th one. I was moving around trying to find spots and trying to miss these guys so they didn't see us. My 6th shot, they caught us. They had it and threw us out. Yeah. So I only got 5 out of the 6 shots. But I said to Hilary, "Better than nothing." So the ones in there, some of the 5 shots that I got.
John, that's unbelievable. This is absolutely beautiful. This is a girl in a long black strapless evening dress, and she's on a horse. And the horse is rearing up,
And the wind's
and it
blowing.
looks as if it's on the skirt is on the horse. It's so fantastic. She's obviously can ride.
Well, that's all comped together. Yeah. There's a picture in Country Life of Stubbs. He had a horse up on his hind legs like
Yes.
that. And a photographer friend of mine, he photographed a horse in a studio like Stubbs to do a Stubbs thing, and it was just that's the picture, and he shot that's his picture. And I said to him, I've got an idea. I've got to photograph Nancy Delalio, and it was Robin Morgan, who you know.
Yes.
Robin said to me, John, go away and photograph it. Don't come back with ordinary. I want something really out of the ordinary that I've never seen before. Okay, all editors say that.
Yes.
Come back with I want the most sensational you ever. So I got a rocking horse, and I got this designer to design this dress for me, and I put her on the rocking horse, and I got a wind machine in her hair, blowing her hair, and I had her hand down by the dress, and we shaped. This is the shape of the dress on the rocking horse, and then when I got it exactly right, I phoned this guy that did the horse. I said, look, I've got a picture for the Sunday Times colour supplement to do. You don't want to share it with me? He said, what do you mean? I said, I'd like to use your horse in the picture and put a girl on it. He said, yeah, I'd be honoured. He said, that would be wonderful. And that's what I did. And when I sent it in to Robin, in fact, we had lunch. I had lunch with him and Nancy at La Caprice and showed him the pictures. And he went, fucking hell. He said, how'd you do that? And I said to Nancy, don't say a word to anybody. Don't let anybody know what we did. You were on that horse, okay? She said, I promise you. I said, because if you do, that would mess up everything. And Robin said, I don't believe her. And I said, she's a great horsewoman. He said, is she? I said, yeah, she's unbelievable. I mean, look at that. You know, in the studio, it's pretty amazing. He said, it is bloody amazing. He said, I don't believe this. He said, yeah, I'm going to put this on the cover. And it was wonderful. And then the Daily Mail phoned me and said, how do you do that picture? And I said, what do you mean, how do I do it? You know, she's a great horsewoman. He said, get away, you know, that's too good to be true. And you know, they put 2 journalists on it to find out how I did it. And they got all the magazines. They found the Country Life with a horse in it. And they found the designer who designed the dress. And Nancy wouldn't say anything, thank God. And they double-page read how John Swannell fooled everybody.
How fantastic!
And I made a lot of money at it because they run it for, and then they phoned me and said, "You still say it's as an original picture?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still saying that, even though they had all the." And so they did another page. John Swannell's lied to the paper. You know. In the meantime, they're using my picture double-page spread. I'm getting £1,000 every time they print. I get £1,000. So I said, "Carry on,
carry on." Exactly. Oh, I love that. I love that story. But it's a great, great photograph. Now, I think I've been here. This is Bhutan, isn't it? Is this a monastery near Thimphu?
No, it's near Paro. Paro, yeah. That's it. Yeah, Paro. Tiger's Nest, I wanted to go up there and photograph up there. And I was telling Joanna Lumley before I went out there. She said, and I've seen pictures and done some research. This place, Tiger's Nest, is it good? She said, it's fantastic. It takes a day to get up there on mules, you know. Yeah. And she said, let me tell you something. When you go up, when you're on the horses, she said, because it's only the width of this room, the path, and there's a 1,000-foot drop. So you're going round the mountain, going up. She said, keep the horses away from the edge, she said, because marijuana's grown all the way up and the horses eat it. Get high. And some of them go over the edge.
No.
Yes.
No.
And I told Hilary Alexander this, and Hilary walked the whole way. She wouldn't get on a horse. she just wouldn't get on the horse.
Oh, gosh.
Isn't that weird?
John, that is. We didn't actually go to Tiger's Nest, but we saw it from...
Paro, you can see it.
Paro, yes. And it looked amazing. And then we walked sort of almost around it. We didn't actually go to it. But what an extraordinary building it is.
Isn't it?
Such wonderful history, and you wonder how on earth they built it all those hundreds of years ago.
Well, it's actually built in the 1930s.
Oh, completely fooled me then.
Yeah, no, what happened, something happened to it, and they built it exactly the way it was.
There was one there, wasn't there?
There was one there,
okay.
yeah. Because the guy came in on Tiger, didn't he? That was the idea.
Yes.
Tiger's Nest. But it's built exactly the way it was. In the tradition it was, everything's exactly the same.
Yes.
But it was in the 30s, either burnt down or something happened to it, I can't remember. But it looks unbelievable. We never made it to it because it took too long. We had to turn back because it was getting dark. We had to turn back.
Did you?
We didn't get right to it.
I mean, even with our binoculars, it looks a long way away.
Yeah.
I'm just mad about this book, John, obviously. I just love it. There's a very funny story in the beginning of when you were working with Bailey. Bailey had allowed you to work with him and at Vogue. And you was full of nerves.
Yeah.
And you put the camera on the tripod. And something happened, and it crashed down. It fell off the tripod onto the floor.
The guy
in smithereens.
The guy that gave out the job.
You must have died.
I did. I looked at my career on the floor. I mean, it was in pieces, the camera, and it took me a lot to get that gig to work with him, because there was 6 assistants and I was the youngest. I was only 19 or 2.
That's right, yeah.
And it was a bugger. And then I was shaking. And when I went to change the camera, I flicked the thing shot off because it was a little thing. You just slid it on and off. Yeah. And I flicked it to it, came onto the floor, smashed into the floor. And it made such a noise. Everybody stopped. You know, the models, everybody froze and looked round at me. You know where you want to find a hole somewhere to correct that. And Bailey stood there looking at me and looking at the camera. He kept doing that and that. And he said, "What was all that about?" And I said, "Well, it's this gadget. You know, it's really quick. You can slide the camera on and off quickly instead of screwing it on." He said, "Didn't work very well, did it?" And then he said, "Tell Vogue they owe me a camera."
I love that. How sweet of him.
And I picked all these bits up, you know, with the dustpan and brush, and put it in a bag and went down to Vogue. And I remember it was £74, I think. And they took it out my wages every month, but only for 1 month or 2 months.
Yes.
And then I thought that was it. And then 6 weeks later, Bailey was in again. You looked on the board to see who you were working with. And I thought, I'd blown it. It's completely blown it. And then I looked on the board and my name was under him. He had his own assistant. You were a second assistant. And I said to Derek, who gave out the jobs, I said, "Derek, you got my name under Bailey." He said, "That's right." And I said, "Well, you know what happened last time." He said, "Okay, have you cleared it with him?" He said, "Yeah, well, I asked him who he wanted." He said, "I'll have that dickhead that broke my camera last week." He said he was enthusiastic. I liked his enthusiasm. So that's how I got to work with him as a second assistant. And then we had to go down to the East End to photograph the Craig brothers, and his assistant wouldn't go. And he said, "It's a Saturday." He said, "You have to come with me." I said, "Okay, fine." I said, "What are we doing?" He said, "We're doing the Craig twins." I said, "Who are they?" I didn't know who they were. I didn't know them because I was only 19.
Oh, that was lucky. Yeah, you were a little boy.
Yeah, I didn't know. So anyway, after that, he gave me the job full time. So, you know, I was there. And then we travelled everywhere, and we did some wonderful things. Talking about funny trips, we went to Hawaii, and we were on this boat. We got up early in the morning to go to do some swimsuits, and we were in this boat travelling along like this. There's the hotel. It's called Kona Village, and the only way in was by private plane, little plane, because it was no runway. It was that private. Right. American Vogue were paying for this trip, and Bailey said, "I want a boat tomorrow to go," and the 27-year-old Swedish guy that ran the hotel, very bright guy, said, "Oh, I'll take you. We've got a converted fishing boat, and I'll drive you there." So we were all in the boat, and we're going along like this, and there's the horizon here, and there's the beach, and we were about 500 yards from the beach or whatever. And it was before the sun came up, because Bailey wanted to get the sun early in the morning. And the sun came up over here like this, and we all turned golden. And I was sitting on the end of the boat, I remember. And the boat was only about maybe a bit longer than this room. It wasn't big.
Yes.
And the sun came up, and we all turned golden. And I'm sitting on the edge of the boat, putting my hands in the water, and it's turquoise, and it's like a bath. And I look across at the beach, which is golden, with all these little huts on the beach where we were living. Yeah. And behind it was Jurassic Park, you know, mounted. And I thought, I've arrived. I said, you know, I just thought, it's one of my first trips. And it was Gene Shrimpton's last trip, actually, funny enough. And I thought, God, I've arrived, you know. I've arrived, you know, come from nothing. And here I am in Hawaii, you know, couldn't believe it. And then suddenly, everything went dark. And it got really cold, suddenly cold. And we all looked to the sun, because we thought a cloud had gone across the sun.
Yes.
But it hadn't. There was a tidal wave coming to a 60-foot high tidal wave, and the reason it was cold, it was a wall of water, and everybody, we all went white as a sheet. And I know it sounds crazy, and I've told this story when I give lectures, but before I left, a couple of weeks before I left, I saw a film called High Wind in Jamaica. Yeah. And in that film, there was a galleon ship, and there was a tidal wave, and it was going like this on the side on, and the captain told the guy to turn the boat, the galleon, into the ship, and they rowed it. Yes. And I screamed at this guy, who wasn't he was just the manager of the hotel. I said, turn it into the thing, quickly. So it was like this, and it went like that. He turned it, and we just caught it, and we went up like this. Oh, I mean, it was like almost 90 degrees, and everybody fell to the bottom of the boat. Cameras, tripods, models, makeup art, everybody fell to the bottom of the boat, and it felt like it took 10 minutes to get to the top. It was only probably 5 seconds, or you know, but we went up to the top, got to the top, and then went down at like 100 miles an hour, like a ski slope. Wow! Because we were so high up, we just shoot it, and then everybody fell down to the front of the boat, and everybody's arms and legs, and people knocking their heads, and a few bruises and all that kind of stuff. And then we settled, and it stopped, And then everybody looked at each other and started holding each other's. Tell me I dreamt that. Did I dream that? And they said, no. And Bailey said, of course you didn't fucking dream it. It really happened. And I said, Jesus Christ. And then another one came.
No.
About 30 foot high. We went up over there, and then one 10 feet high. They come in threes, evidently. And so...
They always come in threes?
Evidently, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So cut to 3 months ahead now. 3 months back in London, 2 months. And I go to this dinner party in Hampstead, funny enough, and there's about 12 people around the table. And this woman, I'd never met her before. I only knew half the people. And she said, Mr. Swannell, I heard about Hawaii. And I said, oh, yeah. She said, yeah, I heard about that tidal wave, that 60-foot tidal wave you were in. Now everybody puts their knives and forks down. I said, you're in a tidal wave? And I said, yeah. They said, my God, weren't you scared? I said, happened too fast. I said, we didn't have time to get scared. She said, could have been killed, all of you. This woman was shouting away. Could have been killed. He was so lucky, you were so lucky, and so was everybody else. Thank God Bailey was with you. And I said, how's that? He said, well, if he hadn't told the guy to turn the boat into the wave, you'd all be dead.
Okay, all right.
So there were two stories going on.
Yes.
So, and I mentioned it to him. He said, I never said that, no.
Oh, hello. Of course he did. He's always the hero. How funny.
So it was quite funny.
How really scary.
It was bloody scary.
Did you get the shot after all?
You carried on, yeah. Although we were all kind of, not damaged or anything, but there was a few cuts and and we carried on, did the shot. He insisted we go on, carried on. But he was actually quite good. He was he was the best guy I've ever worked for. He treated me like a brother. He was unbelievable. Yeah. We were in India for 5 weeks, and I was so missing my girlfriend. Everybody was missing their partners, and we wanted to go home, and we had another 3 days to go, and we were in this jungle in this big truck going to this hotel the last 3 days for the last of the shoot, and we were all really tired and depressed and stuff, and we get to this opening, and there's this white building like an old colonial palace, and it looked beautiful, just like a big square thing with all the windows, and it was pale green at the white at the top, pale green going darker and darker to the bottom. It looked so beautiful, I mean stunning. And as we got closer, I realised that the dark green was lizards. They're all lizards. And as it got to the bottom, the lizards were one on top of another, like this. So that's why they got darker. And we got there, and the models weren't happy, and there was no window panes or anything. There was no windows, no window panes. We went in and checked in and went to our rooms. No mosquito nets, nothing. And I phoned down. I said, aren't we supposed to have mosquito nets? It's really humid. He said, oh, don't worry about the mosquitoes. He said the lizards will eat those. And so anyway, we came down to dinner that night. Everybody's a bit down in the mouth, and Bailey saw this and bought some champagne. And said, come on, guys, it's only 3 days. He said, and anyway, I've got some good news. He said, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton are shooting 5 miles from here, and it's their last day today, and they're going to come and join us for dinner tomorrow night.
Perfect.
And we all looked at each other. Really, they're going to have dinner with us? And they said, we all cheered up. There's about 6 of us. We really cheered up, and so we had champagne. It was really nice, and we shot the next day in the heat and everything. That evening, we came down to dinner, and Bailey said, the shoot just run over, so it's going to be tomorrow night now. Sorry, but they did phone through, And the third night, he made up another excuse. Of course, there was no Elizabeth Taylor. He was trying to keep her puckers up.
Oh no!
Yeah, and then he said, the shoot's just run over, and we've got to go back tomorrow, so we're going to miss them,
Oh, sure.
And I was on the plane back with him.
Yeah.
I said, there was no Elizabeth Taylor or no film or Burton, was it? And he said, no, there wasn't. He said, but you all look so down, I had to do something.
Oh, isn't he funny?
Yeah.
Gosh, he's funny.
Yeah. So,
but good idea.
I tell you what, he kept us going for 3 days.
It worked.
He really kept us going for 3 days.
Gosh, John, well done. Yeah, so adorable. But I think this is the most charming.
That was for Stamp. That was Queen Mother's 100th birthday.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was a stamp. And Stamp, there was a book, and then the stamps went round their heads like this.
Oh.
So I had to plan exactly where they sat. Otherwise, the stamp could go right through right through his chin. So I had to plan it. So I had to get 4 people exactly the same height as those, put the chairs, put everything ready to go, and then they just come in and sit in the same places.
Yes.
And I've got a thing in the camera, a little tracing.
Yeah.
And then I could shoot them. And I even put big feet marks where his feet are and where his feet are, so they could stand in those. And the Queen came in and said, "What's this?" And I explained what I had to do, and it was difficult, to make sure it's got to be exactly. And she said, "Those feet, what feet are those?" I said, "That's your grandson, William's feet." She said, "William, my God, you've got big feet." And all the crew that were filming it, BBC were filming it, everyone was laughing. But the funny thing was when I did Princess Diana and the kids.
Yes.
Anna Harvey, she phoned me one day and said, because she used to style her, she said, "Can you photograph a friend of mine and her children?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." I said, "Who is it?" She said, "Oh, can I tell you nearer the time?" "Yeah, this is the shoot, yeah." And I said, "Yeah, sure," and then I forgot all about it. And then about 3 or 4 days before, I phoned her. I said, "Who am I shooting, by the way?" He said, "Diana and the boys." And I said, "Oh, wow, that's great, sounds good." I'm in the studio. I got table tennis in for the boys while she's doing her makeup because they might be bored. Yes. So, and while she was having her makeup done, I played them both. I played William and I beat him easily. And Harry beat me like 21-2.
Oh, wow.
I said, "You played before, haven't you?" He said, "Maybe." So that was quite funny. But anyway, I was in the studio. So I'm sitting on a table like this, actually, and with the phone, cross-legged, phone on the hand, and the door was behind me. And it was, I think she was coming at 2 o'clock and it was 1:30, so I had half an hour and I was talking to a friend. Suddenly I get a tap on the shoulder and I turn around and nose to nose, it's Diana, right? And when I say, I go, "Oh," and I drop the phone on the floor, on the table, bounces onto the floor, and I stood up and said, "Mum, I'm really sorry, I didn't realise, I thought you were going to be too..." She said, "I'm sorry, I'm early. Listen, I'm sorry to interrupt your phone call. You carry on." I said, "I'll go and get my makeup done. I'm really sorry to interrupt, I said, No, it's not at all. I'm sorry, I wasn't there to, meet you at the door." She said, "No, you carry on, John, fine." And she went, "I'll do my makeup, see you in a minute." So she went off and I picked up the phone and the guy at the end and said, "What was all that about?" I said, "Oh, it's Princess Diana. She just came in, just tapped me on the shoulder and made me jump." He said, "Yeah, sure, she did." So I said, I didn't go, another thing that when Bailey and I worked with him, he was photographing John Lennon and Yoko Ono. And he'd photographed John and he said, "John, you're going to take a seat at the back of the studio with John and I'm going to do Yoko now." So he was photographing Yoko. And I'm sitting at the couch back with John Lennon. He rolls up a joint. And he finished the rolls up the joint and he said, "John, do you smoke?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, being cool. I never smoked a cigarette, let alone a joint." He said, "You sure?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Sure, yeah, being cool as I can." So he takes a smoke, takes a couple of drags, passes it to me. I take a drag, go, and I'm coughing my heart out. He's patting me on the back like that. He said, "You don't smoke, give me that joint, you're wasting it." And I told that story in the pub that night to some friends of mine.
Yes.
And again they said, "Okay, Pinocchio, sure you did." Nobody, because,
They can't believe it.
No.
John, how lovely.
Because that happened all the time, because he was photographing those people all the time.
Sweetie, I could sit here all afternoon and turn into the evening.
That's been lovely.
I'm afraid
I've
I'm
enjoyed
going
it.
to have to call a halt now.
Okay.
And thank you so much. It's been really lovely talking to you on this podcast. I hope you'll listen to it.
No, you have to tell me when it comes out and everything.
Oh, I will, definitely.
Good.
I want to thank you, John, so much for a most wonderful episode. I was rolling about with laughter, even listening back to it, John. So funny. You're wonderful. And as well as being one of the best photographers. Thank you so much. And I'm still loving your book. Anyway, this is the book that we were talking about. This is a wonderful book. It's called 40 Years On. And it's a great book. And it shows the diversity of his wonderful photography. I'm mad about him.
Amazing. Thank you so much, John, for sharing those stories. I kind of feel like we could do an entire series just going through his photos, and each episode would be a brand new photo. The stories attached to them are amazing. So thank you for sharing. And the cocktail that he introduced, I realised we didn't actually get the name of it, but I believe it's a Cosmopolitan. So if that's your cocktail, check it out. The ingredients were obviously shared at the beginning, which is good. So try it out, let us know what you think. And if you've enjoyed this episode, would love it if you'd leave a review. You can leave a review with Apple Music, or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave some comments down in the comments section, and give us a like and subscribe. That'd be great. We've got a ton more episodes to come, and we're really excited for this season 3. So we hope you enjoy it. And for everything podcast related, go to pattiespodcast.co.uk. For everything else, go to pattieboyd.co.uk. And we'll see you next time.